Okay, hello. This is Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights, and we're back with another video here. And so this is kind of along the lines of what I've been speaking about in the past: good versus evil. But now I want to speak about something a little bit different, and I want to speak about the idea of a very basic concept in the world and in the Torah, which is chaos versus order. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Chaos versus order. So we have a situation in the world, okay, where there is a directed attack against the order that Yehovah has placed within the world. Excuse me, let me just adjust this a little bit better. There we go. A directed attack against the order that Yehovah has placed within the world. And this is the definition of evil, okay? This is the definition of evil. Anything that goes against the order that Yehovah has placed in the world, the definition of that is evil. Anything that goes in line with the order that Yehovah has placed in the world, and the definition of that is good. So I've given the example in the past of a hierarchy of, we'll say, command and control structure. We'll just say command and structure. Control has too much overt meaning or subtle meaning. But a command structure, right? Yehovah runs the show. He's at the top of the pyramid. Below that, you have his appointed leaders. This is going to include prophets, judges appointed by prophets, leaders of tribes, all of the structure of leading the nation of Israel. Below that, you have the men. And the man is king of his castle, king of his household. He has dominion over everyone in his household: the women, the children, the servants and maidservants, at times where they had such things, and maybe they will again in the future. I have a question mark about that. And the animals, and anyone else who happens to be within the province of his household. And then the women have providence over the children. The children, you can say, have providence over the animals. So there's a very strict, I don't like the word strict, there's a very well thought out and wise structure to the way that the world works, the nation of Israel works, any nation works, and the world works. And traditional communities have followed this order, and this is one example of order in the world. I'm just giving this as an example. Traditional communities have followed this for thousands of years, and societies which have rebelled against this order soon find themselves wiped off the map permanently, wiped off of slow down here before I get a ticket from the evil police. So I don't want to add any more money to their bloated coffers. So what was I saying? Societies that go against this natural order of the world quickly find themselves decimated and end up as a byword, and end up as a couple of pages in a high school history text. Okay, so that's just one example. Okay, now the idea of order versus chaos is so fundamental, is so important to the way the world works, that we see that basically the entire struggle of good versus evil is a struggle of order versus chaos. And I'd like to relate to two things that are relevant to this topic. The first thing is the Garden of Eden story, or I should say the creation story, where God created order out of chaos, right? And the second is the Tower of Babel, where the ancient humans basically made an attempt at globalism. That's what it was. This was no different. The motivating factors in the minds of the people who were behind the Tower of Babel, whether you consider it a true story or an allegory, or a legend or whatever, it doesn't matter. The motivating factors behind the story are globalist factors. So we'll get to both of these. Let's start off with the first one. The first issue is the creation story. Okay, it says that in the beginning, the world was tohu wabohu. Okay, basically means the correct translation of that, as it's often translated, is chaos. Okay, what does chaos mean? Chaos means a lack of order. Okay, in modern physics, you have entropy and enthalpy, and I always get the two mixed up. But I believe that entropy is the tendency towards disorder, and enthalpy is the tendency towards order, although it may be the opposite. But it doesn't matter. The underlying point is the classic example of entropy, the tendency towards disorder, is that if a person doesn't clean up his room, doesn't actively clean up his room, then after a week or a month, it will look like a complete mess. Things will be strewn all over the place. There was no order that was placed into the room, or that was affected upon the room, and so slowly it turned into a state of chaos. There was no order to it. It was just everything thrown around randomly. Okay. Another classic example of order versus chaos would be if you put an ice cube in a glass of lukewarm water, okay, there is structure in that. There's an ice cube, which is the concentration of the cold water, the frozen water, and then there is the warm water, which is the liquid part, right? And so there's structure. There's a differential between the ice cube and the water. If you leave it, then eventually equilibrium or the system will naturally tend towards equilibrium, and the cold water or the ice will turn warmer as the surrounding water will turn cooler until they meet at the same temperature. And now there's no distinction. That's an example of lack of order. That's an example of lack of chaos. And that's what happens when no order is put into the system, when no energy is put into the system. If I want to make ice cubes, I have to take water, I have to put them in the freezer, and I have to actively make ice cubes. If I do nothing, if I unplug the refrigerator or the freezer and just leave everything there, everything's just going to become lukewarm. Okay? So what did Yehovah do when he created the world? He took lack of order, he took chaos, he took lack of distinction, and he created structure. Okay? If we look around our world, everything we see has structure. The trees have structure. The leaves have structure. Okay? The cells of the leaves have structure. Each part of the cell of a leaf has structure. The atoms that make up those parts have structure. The subatomic particles that make up the atoms have structure. Everything is this incredibly wise and complex structure. And in my opinion, I'm not going to get into the whole thing right now, but in my opinion, that's clear proof of the existence of Yehovah, because there must be an intelligence behind all of this structure. Structure cannot happen on its own. When things are left to their own devices, what happens is the lack of structure, not structure. Again, the example of the ice cube in the warm water, or the example of the child not cleaning up his room. Okay? So when Yehovah used his intelligence, used his will, and then created order out of chaos, each time he did it, at the end of each day, he said, and then there was evening, and then there was morning, day 2, and each time he says that what he did is good. Okay? What he did is good. So the definition of, in the book of Genesis, in Bereshit, taking chaos and building out of it order is considered good. Okay? Chaos to order is considered good when Yehovah does it, right? When there's a certain order that is ordained by him, and when he builds this order, that is considered good. So we go from the direction of chaos to the direction of order, from the direction of lack of structure to the direction of structure. That is called, in the book of Genesis, good. Okay? So what is the opposite of that? Okay? If one goes from from order to chaos, if one takes something that is ordered and builds out of it chaos, okay, then the definition of that would be evil. Okay? Another way of saying that is that anyone that destroys the natural structure, the structures, the order that Yahweh has placed in the world is going from a state of order to a state of chaos. It may look like it's another form of order, but it's not. It's really just a confused, it's like a room that's messed up. It's going from order to chaos. You're breaking down the order, you're breaking down the structure that Yahweh built. Okay? And the definition of that is evil. Okay? When Yahweh went from chaos to order, that was called good. That Yahweh looked at it and saw it was good, and it was the second morning, it was the second day, and it was good. Okay, and on and on and on. Okay, so evil is another definition of the work. Those people who do evil, I like to call them workers of chaos. They are intent on building chaos into the world. So how can people build chaos into the world? Okay, the animals don't build chaos into the world. The plants don't build chaos into the world. The angels, if they exist, and I believe they do, don't build chaos into the world. And Yahweh does not build chaos into the world. These all either follow the order or build the order of the world. Okay, but human beings were given free will. The very definition of free will is that human beings have the ability to act against the order and against the direction and against the rules that Yahweh laid out in this world. Human beings have the ability to rebel against the order of Yahweh, and therefore human beings are the only creatures in the entire existence that can build chaos out of order. Okay, Yahweh can't do that. He can only build order out of chaos. Okay, by definition, everything he does is building order out of chaos. It's by definition. That's a tautology. That's ipso facto. Okay, trees can't build chaos out of order. Animals can't build chaos out of order. Angels can't build chaos out of order. Only human beings have the free will, have the ability to build chaos out of order, and therefore only human beings have the ability to do evil, because the definition of evil is building chaos out of order. The two are almost interchangeable. Evil and building chaos out of order are exactly the same thing. Okay? Therefore, all of the evil in this universe, in our existence, in our physical existence, is caused by one creature and one creature only. That is the human being. It's not caused by Yahweh. It's not caused by animals. It's not caused by plants. It's not caused by angels. Okay? It's not caused by the sky or the earth. It is caused by human beings. Every single problem we see in this world can be traced back to human beings, and specifically can be traced back to the free will of human beings, and then their using of the free will, of the special gift that Yahweh gave them to build chaos out of order, which by definition is to do evil. And this evil perpetuates throughout the various complex structures of the universe and ends up with all of the maladies we see in our existence: poverty and disease and war and violence and injustice and oppression and all of the rest of the stuff. Every single problem we have in this world, every amount of unpleasantness that we have in this world can be traced back to evil, either our own evil, which comes back upon us in the form of karma, or the evil of others, because we're all connected in the grand scheme of things, in this great universe. Okay, so a lot more to say about this. A lot more to say about this. This is something I'm constantly thinking about, and I could literally talk about this subject for another couple of hours, but I won't. I want to go on now to the Tower of Babel. Okay, the Tower of Babel was an attempt to create chaos out of order. Okay, the Tower of Babel was an attempt to create lack of distinctions between all of humanity, that they should all come together around this obelisk, around this building that would now be built up to heaven, and that would now be a threat to heaven, or that would challenge Yahweh's authority. Okay, and how would they challenge this authority? They would all come together as one. Okay, break down the structures that Yahweh had built, meaning the distinctions that Yahweh had built between the peoples, and now they would now take over Yahweh's world with their own ideas, with their own philosophies, with their own way of seeing things. By unifying together, they thought they were stronger than Yahweh, and they would actually be able to now become gods themselves. They would become the gods. Okay, it's a common, basic human desire to become a god. The ancient pharaohs thought they were gods. Many other ancient kings thought they were gods, proclaimed themselves as gods. Okay, everybody wants to rule the world, right? Says that song from when I was growing up in the 80s. We all want to be gods, but what the Torah teaches us is you can be a god. And the way you are God is you emulate Yehovah. You submit to Yehovah. You become a servant of Yehovah. You become humble. You become kind. You become just. And that is how you connect to Yehovah, who is the true God. And then you become, in a certain sense, a co-God, or I don't want to say that. Let me take that back, because that could be misconstrued. But you become a kind of a little God, or a God-like human being, a human being who exerts his godliness rather than his animal-like structure. So the people of the Tower of Babel did not want to do it the right way. They didn't want to connect to Yehovah. They didn't want to emulate him. They didn't want to feel what it's like to be God by being kind and humble and just and connecting with him. What they wanted to do is overthrow him. They wanted to take over. They wanted to basically become gods themselves. Since the connection is weak, I hope this is being broadcast. So that is the story with the Tower of Babel. How does it relate to modern globalism? The way it relates to modern globalism is, if you look at the globalists, if you look at the so-called liberals, if you look at the progressives, the so-called progressives, what they want to do is they want to break down the structure, the natural structure that Yehovah has placed in the world, exactly the same way that the people who built the Tower of Babel wanted to do. Okay? They all want to join together, and they want to say, forget the structure that Yehovah gave. That's stupid, that's old, that's outdated, that's evil. Everyone is the same, okay? Men and women are the same. Children and adults are the same. The different nations are the same. The different races, we're all the same. We want no distinction. We all want to come together as one unified people, and this is how we will reach our utopia. This is how we will reach our happiness and our utopia. Well, that didn't work back in the Tower of Babel, and it hasn't worked when other nations in the past have tried to do it, and it's not going to work now. And the ultimate end of this globalism will not be that we will be led to some kind of heaven, but actually it will end up destroying the world, or it will end up destroying itself, because there will always be a loyal remnant of the world that will remain, because Yehovah promised that he would not completely destroy the world after the flood. He gave the covenant of the rainbow, the promise of the rainbow. So I'm gonna leave it at this. I'm going to say more about this in the future, but I'm going to end off here for the main reason that I really need to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to stop here, and hopefully in the next time that we talk, then I'll speak a little bit more about this idea of chaos versus evil. I'll speak a little bit more about this idea of the Tower of Babel being the exact same mentality that the globalists have. Nothing has changed in 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years. The people who thought of the idea of the Tower of Babel are the same people who are now trying to push globalism, quote-unquote progressiveness, quote-unquote liberalism, all of these ideas where all of the distinctions, all of the structure that Yehovah placed into this world is broken down and replaced with a lack of distinction, a lack of structure, the definition being chaos. Taking the order that Yehovah placed in the world and taking that out and replacing it with their own idea, which is essentially chaos. So something to think about for now, and we will continue this hopefully in the next video soon. This has been Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights. I hope you enjoyed this talk, and please visit us at www.karaiteinsights.com, on Twitter at Karaite Insights, at our YouTube channel, which is Karaite Insights, and of course on Facebook. Thank you.